How will you know when it's time to scale your business? Stay tuned. We'll talk about it. It's something we all want: business growth. How do you know when you're ready for it? Should you plan for it or just let it happen organically? There's a ton of questions about it and more. The reality is, a lot of times people aren't ready for business the way it is today. So they're absolutely not ready for business growth. But our featured entrepreneur, the owner of Bulletproof Hustle, is here to answer all of our questions about starting a business, building a business, and letting us know when it's time to scale that business. Stay tuned to this feature interview, and I encourage you to connect with him and share his information within your community. So, with no further ado, here's Darnell Brown. Enjoy the feature. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to introduce you to our entrepreneur this week, Mr. Darnell Brown. He is the owner of Bulletproof Hustle. He is an award-winning growth strategist and educator, and he helps today's leaders and experts save time and impact lives through brand clarity, empathy, and strategy. His clients include Band-Aid, Passport Parking, and Teachable. And I want you to help me welcome him to the show so we can learn all about Bulletproof Hustle and how it can help us with our businesses. Welcome, Darnell. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Tia. Appreciate that.
Yes, definitely. So, okay, tell us about Bulletproof Hustle. Who do you help and how do you help them?
Yeah. So just as you said in the intro, today's experts, leaders, freelancers, entrepreneurs, small businesses, specialists. So people that think differently and decision makers as well. I really don't discriminate when it comes to any of that stuff. I like to have a point person and be working with people that are driven and ambitious and want to realize their potential. I'm just there to be a catalyst for them, really, and a supporter and a cheerleader, a motivator, a coach to them, and a strategist. Just there to see things that they may not see, look out for their blind spots. It's like going to the gym with your friend or something. You got your spotter there while you're doing the bench pressing, right? So you're never going to put on the amount of weights that you probably could get away with if you just go into the gym by yourself. So I feel like, Tia, we all need mentors and coaches and strategists to help us become better, both personally and professionally. So even your coaches and your mentors have other coaches and mentors, whether that's a financial advisor or a lawyer or something. Here we have people that help us deal with things that we'd rather not deal with. And so, I like helping, and I'm really passionate about helping those types of folks just get to where they're trying to go. And when I did my research a couple months ago, I realized that a lot of people were struggling with organizing their time and managing it, and they wanted to do more meaningful work. This came from the leaders and experts and specialists that I had started to survey a little bit to see, okay, well, what's the number one thing you're struggling with, right? And if that was important for two reasons, Tia. One, so that I could better help them with their specific needs from their own voice and like from their own perspective. And then the second part was getting them to speak in the language that they understand of what, for instance, branding is or strategy or strategizing is. Before I'd done that research, Tia, I had realized that I was kind of using terms that people had different connotations for. So I had went under the title before I decided on growth strategist. I usually using brand strategist. And so people thought that was just like visuals and logo and website. And so there's still a kind of connotation with that. And so I said, no, that's not what I'm really doing and stuff anymore. So once I did that research, I was like, oh, okay, this is what's important to them. And then we can get to all of the branding stuff and all of those other things that we can sprinkle in there. But the most important thing for any of us in business is to help our clients and audiences solve their problems that they see from themselves through their own voices, through their own perspectives, rather than how we think of it excuse me, as the business owners, rather than the way
Okay.
that we think of it for them. So
Yeah. Makes
yeah,
sense. So
those
I'm
are
glad. Okay. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I'm glad you mentioned research though, because that's one area that I see a lot of people, they just don't do. I don't know if they're just not aware that it should be done. So, and I know there's different types of research, but like from, everything from surveys to focus groups to things like that. What form of research would you, well, I guess what type of research did you do? And then like, what would you recommend to an entrepreneur that you work with in terms of how to do their own, research to figure out, are they really talking to the right customer or how to find some clarity or anything like that? And I know that's like a general question, but just like in general, is there any tips that you would kind of give them for how to conduct research?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question, and I think that my answer to both of those questions to you is really the same thing, which was I would recommend people to do what I did, which is it depends on whether or not you have a pre-existing relationship with them, or you kind of going in cold, like to a prospect. So you got different ways of doing that. Either way, I think that the underlying thing, Tia, is to get as close one-on-one as you can with the prospect, and something that mimics a real one-to-one conversation that you can have with them. And so, like, the holy grail of that would be to like have a face-to-face conversation, like over coffee, where you can look them in the eye and see how they're responding body language wise to their gestures, not just what they're saying vocally, right? So that's like the ultimate scenario, but we don't have time to do that with every single prospect that we're reaching out to. If you got 500 or 1,000 people coming into your site every day, naturally you can't do that. So you do have to figure out how to scale. It depends on if you have more time or more money. If you have more time, then you have the ability to kind of say, okay, well, I'm going to set up 15-minute calls or something with people to really understand what it is that they're going through and whether or not I can help them, and see what that research tells me. What I ended up doing was I went more of the cold route, in the sense of I didn't have relationships with these people, but how do I get them to give me data from something I need? And so the big thing is, Tia, that everybody's so busy and everybody's being distracted and everybody's being interrupted with somebody that wants something from them. So even when you're doing something as simple as asking someone to fill out a couple questions, fill out a couple, questions to a survey for their own benefit, so that you can provide them with something that they need, that still can kind of be a strain on a person's time. So when I was setting up my own survey, I had just really I tried to think about what it would take to make this like an offer that you can't refuse, right? Because again, providing someone with a free survey is not enough. Sometimes even putting an incentive behind that survey is not enough, especially if they don't have an existing relationship with you. So what I've realized here and what I've learned over time is that you have to do two things. One, you have to make it the least amount of strain as possible on the person's time to show that you have the utmost respect for it. So how can you do this in like 2 or 3 minutes for them, especially if you don't have a relationship with them? Second thing is, if they don't know you, they're not going to trust you. So what can you share about yourself that's going to open up the door? Because if you want your audience to go first and provide you with data, you have to go first. Like, you, as in the business owner, have to be the one to go first to give people a reason to believe and say that this person is the real deal for them. And so imagine how hard it is to compact all of that into a message that you're trying to get someone to convert. You're trying to convert them to take an action, even if it's just filling out a survey. It's still an action. So it is a sales message of sorts. But when you can be friendly, genuine, and compelling, and keep your message tight, which requires a lot of nuance and massaging, and a strong degree to you of being able to mimic like your own voice and your own personality through your words when you write them down. And it's a skill that requires a lot of skill. I mean, a lot of practice is not something that is easy for people to do, because if that was, then people wouldn't hire copywriters and things, I think, too much. But it's really hard to capture your own voice or to feel comfortable and confident in the way that you speak and be able to replicate that through your words. And then say, okay, how can I put the least amount of strain on them as possible? So I worked on that message for a long time, got it down to like 2 or 3 paragraphs, and I tried to make it as compelling as I could. I said that you're doing a good deed today. It'll be the easiest good deed that you'll do all day. And for what I'm working on, I'm willing to grant you, I'm willing to grant you free access to it or allow you to preview it if you want to. But you are the type of person, you're the prototype, or you are within the type of audience that I'm speaking to, and I'm really just genuinely trying to learn. But we've never had a conversation prior to this point, and I'm asking you for something all in the same message, right? So you really have to be, you have to be on point with it, and you have to do it at the right time, and really, again, not be a strain on anyone's time. And it's really, really hard to do when no one has heard of you, or they don't know you, or you don't have a big brand behind you. You don't represent a brand that they're aware of, and you're trying to introduce yourself, showcase your personality, give a little sliver of who you are as a person, ask them to fill out a survey, which is basically going to help you sell them something. And but to put that all into a way that makes sense to a person. And I did it, and I figured it out, and I got a high response rate from that. So I know that I can write in a way that is compelling, that will at least get people to open it up, get to the end. And then a lot of the responses were like, wow, I've never been approached that way. Or this is a different type of message. I never received this. Like, a lot of people are usually trying to get something for you or trying to sell you something. But how can you do all of those things? And I think it just goes back to what I said at the beginning, which is just trying to think about a one-to-one relationship. How can you nurture it? How can you just be real with a person before trying to earn their business? You need to get them to trust you first. And how do you get them to trust you before you can even think about earning their business? Is you usually have to go first. You have to give them a compelling reason and tie an incentive around the action that they need to take, and make that survey as easy for them to fill out as possible. So I had a bunch of multiple choice things in there. So I'm like, you don't even really got to give me too much. 5 questions, you in and out in like 1 to 3 minutes. I got multiple choice. The survey is not clinical like most surveys are. Like, it sounds conversational, and it's written like the way that I would talk in real life, or when you're asking a real person questions. All of those things go a way towards improving your conversion rates when it comes to research, and being able to get real insights, like valuable insights from people that you can actually measure that data, not just like superfluous answers or yes or no questions. Like, again, you have to be strategic and creative with that. You have to, because people ain't going to come out and tell you how to build your business. They ain't going to come out and tell you exactly what they want sometimes. So you have to be able to extrapolate to you, like, what are they saying? What are they not saying? That's why if you can be face to face with a person, you can look them in the eye and say, okay, I believe like what this person is saying matches their mannerisms, or I don't buy what they're saying. Or do they shell up when I ask them this question? Do they lean in a little bit? Right? You can't do all of that if you're sending someone an electronic survey. So how can you extrapolate as much as possible? And that requires creativity and imagination. That requires empathy. That requires being able to extrapolate what is not being said all the time. Some things is sometimes it's subtext. Sometimes it's what is not said that you have to be able to say, oh, okay. Or this message connected, like 90% of the people that read this message didn't even respond to it. Like, what does that mean? What is, like, is what I said, did it put people off that much? Did I send it at the wrong time? Did I just not nail that? So even sometimes no feedback is feedback for you. So hopefully it helps out.
That makes sense. Yeah, definitely. So now that you have a better idea of who your target audience is and why, and like you said, you've nailed the wording and copywriting, because that is key to making sure you're speaking to others' language and not your own. What specific services do you offer? Like, I know you have a podcast, you have some courses, you have some books. Can you tell us a little bit about how you help the people that come to you save time and impact their lives with clarity and strategy?
Sure thing. And it's what you said, through podcasting, through articles, through interviews, videos like this, being able to to publish content in different formats across different platforms so that you can give out the information and the insights and the way that people like to receive their information, whether it's through audio or reading or being able to see you, right? So it's a combination, Tia, of courses, podcasts, blog posts. Now I'm starting to get into hybrid programs, which combines coaching and consulting with video modules at the same time so that it can be like a self-paced course. So I can take, for instance, 5 people at a time and work with them for 6 weeks on being able on how to manage their time better or create a theme for each day of their work week, which is going to get them better results, for instance. And I can work with them for 5 to 6 weeks at a time and just enroll just 5 to 6 people every like 5 or 6 weeks, or and open and close enrollment a little bit so that I can work with people in a very intimate fashion and give them that proximity that they're kind of looking for. And that, you know, sometimes you need that kind of accountability more than just a course that they can take passively. Like so being able to combine those two things, I think, is and being able to combine them is providing a lot more value, I think, to the types of people that want a combination of do it with them and like it is on them to implement it as well too, because sometimes you need to hold their hands with it. Sometimes you're bringing in very radical concepts or things that they're not used to using. And since course completion rates are very low, online courses, that is, people will pay for courses and not complete them. You know, it's important for them to complete them because you want the people to get the transformation that you're promising. And sometimes it is just having a level of proximity to you, or them being able to ask you questions. And so if I said, okay, I'll open this up to like 6 people at a time. I'll let them text me or call me whenever they want to, and I'll respond quickly. But it's just these 5 to 6 people at this point. And then once we finish this journey, you know, they can take off from there, and I'll help the next group of people. Right. So it's really combining both sides of those things. So I'm excited about that. And that's really what I'm focused on, Tia, in terms of building, and kind of where my business model is headed is more of that direction. I've also did some workshop facilitation. So that's a little bit of public speaking as well too. I do enjoy that. It is not something I'm afraid of. I've heard that that's like the number one fear of all. And I'm like, I'm not scared of that. Like I'm like, man, that's handled, like, or you know, that's not a fear that I have. So that's a good thing. So anyway, yeah, those are some of the ways.
The name of your podcast, because we definitely want to make sure we post it down below. But for people, of course, that are listening to this, what's the name of your podcast?
It's called Bulletproof Hustle with Darnell Brown. So
that's pretty straightforward. All right.
I will say this about the podcast super quick, Tia, is that I had designed it to be an exercise, and it kind of built off of a hobby because I felt like I needed to express myself in a new way, in a way that was different from a blog where you got to go back and forth and like edit things and tighten things all the way. Like I designed it to be the anti-blog. So everything about it is the polar opposite of that. Like there is no editing with it. I kind of freestyle it. I'll have a topic in mind and bullet points that I want to hit. And I might have a note card that I'm looking at to be like, these are the 3 things I need to be centered around, or these are the, when I get done with this story, these are the 3 things that I'm gonna hit you with at the end of it. Right. But beyond that, I have to freestyle it and I got to put it in flow. And if I mess up all the way at the 7th minute, I'll re-record it again. I prefer to do that than to just like splice it up and edit it. Because again, it's got to be flowing, and it's got to just be me kind of in a raw and filtered fashion. That said, Tia, I also designed it for people like my nephews, for them to be able to listen to, like when they get older, or when they're into that type of stuff. It's kind of like a legacy builder in terms of like, after I'm gone, like you be able to listen to that stuff and be like, okay, well, these are the things that Darnell stood for. So it's personal in that way. And, you know, I'm not really monetizing it. I haven't started inviting guests and stuff on it because it's kind of just virtues and mottos and things to live by, and like short bite-sized kind of truth bombs and motivational, but it's meant to help people in life and in business. So sometimes I might be talking about branding. Other times I might be like giving you truth serum or something in terms of just like telling you what you need here and kind of kicking your butt a little bit. And so that's kind of the thoughts and stuff behind it and why I ended up doing that. And it does tie into the
And
brand. It's some
yeah,
of those same things.
definitely. Now, is your 5-day impact course part of that hybrid course that you had mentioned a few minutes ago? Or is that a little bit different? Is that fully just on a virtual course?
So that one, the 5-day impact course, is fully a virtual one, but I have encompassed that course into the hybrid program as well as a bonus module, as a bonus mini course within the main course for people that end up purchasing that plan. Yes,
That makes sense.
because
So
it fits into it and it can be repurposed in that way.
yeah, definitely. That definitely makes sense. And it makes sense to create things that can be repurposed, right?
Got to, got to.
So yeah, exactly. Just even for your own sanity and time management. So from creating courses to writing books to running your podcast, writing copy, do you run Bulletproof Hustle alone? Do you have a team that works along with you? And if you don't, do you plan to have a team in the future?
Fantastic question. It has been just me, and it's been just me since 2008. So it's been
Wow.
about 13 years. I figured, Tia, that I guess I have felt a lot more in flow, like being more of a solopreneur of sorts, because I'm still, as I approach my 40s in a few years from now, I'm still like really trying to figure out what work-life balance means to me. And that might be what some in the industry call like a tiny business, right? It might be the type of business where it's just like I might be cool just working maybe 3 to 6 months out of the year, for instance, and just kind of like doing these hybrid programs and maybe doing a little bit of consulting on the side and then being able to do some drawings and motivational wall art and stuff sometimes. And that's really because, Tia, like I have varied interests. And so it's hard to I like to do so many different things and I want to do things beyond the stuff that I'm doing now. But I know I won't live forever and I don't have all of the time to do those things. And so I said, well, yeah, I think that I'm more comfortable and happy to being just a guy that kind of just opens up the business when it's time to, kind of like a faucet a little bit, and does some different things and tries some different things. Like I might be doing something in film at some point, maybe something in music as well too, because again, those interests. And I'm an artist at heart anyway. I love all of the art forms. There's things that I still want to go to school for and learn to other degrees. If I just had this business and all I'm doing is focusing on clients and or trying to expand it in that way and hiring staff, then that's totally fine. That's a route that I feel like I'll need to be more intentional about. And
That's
I will outsource things as I need them for sure, because there are some things I'm not interested in doing in business. For instance, like
mhm,
promotion.
okay.
There's people that love doing promotion.
Mhm,
I love doing content creation. And so
okay.
you got people at both sides of the spectrum, like people that hate, they don't feel like they're creative. They don't know how do you just come up with things? How do you create things that didn't exist and stuff before? That's all my bread and butter. And I feel like I love to leave it up to other people to go sell it and stuff for me. But I like making things and producing things and putting out
Hmm.
into this world what doesn't yet exist.
That makes
And
sense. And then considering that, like, I know you have a lot of tools on your website and software that you recommend. And I can tell that you have a personal relationship with each one of them and how they've impacted you probably in your business and outside. Which one would you say is like your favorite tool? Because you have everything from like graphic tools to, productivity tools to, so which one would you say is your favorite and why at this time? And I know it could change.
yeah, oh wow. For any category, my favorite tool. Hmm. Dang man, that's a good one. That's a good one. I probably would have to go with. I'm gonna have to go with a tie between Teachable and like lead pages. That's a two-way tie. They're not in the same line of business, but I feel like their customer service and their features and stuff for what they offer, and they're just huge library of resources is just
Yeah.
really impactful. And they also give creators chances to become affiliates and like earn money for helping spread the word for them. Like companies don't
Yeah.
have to do that. So if you can be a brand advocate and you're already recommending these things to people and stuff anyway, and now you're gonna get paid for it, like it's certainly a no-brainer because these are brands that like just like I have on my website. I use them all. I'm a paying customer myself, and I already disclosed that. You know, that's how you thank me if you appreciate the referral is to sign up
Exactly.
for it, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, those are the two, and those are the reason I would say I feel like those two have the least amount of bugs and
Yeah.
going on with their platforms. But again, their resource library, just the amount of value that they give you both for free and paid is just massive. Huge inspirations to me. And I've been able to partner with both of them on some different levels and produce content as well for them. I
Okay.
find
Oh, that's great.
so it's
Okay.
just being able, yeah, to move up the ranks and stuff a little bit to just kind of prove your worth and just
Yeah.
earn it, man. Get out here and earn it. Don't expect it. Whether that's whether that's a prospect or an audience or a platform. I feel like me personally, Tia, that I have to earn it all, and that nothing is going to be given to me.
Mhm.
And so,
That makes sense. Those are two great recommendations, by the way, in terms of tools. Okay. So I kind of second that. All right. So I know that we met through social media, specifically LinkedIn.
mhm.
How do you use social media overall as part of your marketing strategy? So, in addition to LinkedIn, one, are you on any other social media platforms? And it's just a part of your overall strategy. Is that like a major part of your strategy? Is that just a component of it, along with maybe some other things that you use to market your business?
Yeah, I have profiles as well, Tia, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I feel like they all I'm using them all in different ways, but I probably use LinkedIn the most professionally in terms of prospecting and actually putting the most business related material out on that platform. And I might repurpose it for the other platforms a little bit, but I use them each in different ways because of the responses that I'm getting through each of those platforms and what people seem to be what resonates with them with respect to the content that I publish. I feel like with LinkedIn, super professional network, um, like really about genuine relationship building. Instagram, I do like a lot as well too, but of course, it's much more of a visual platform and being able to connect with people in a different way. And Twitter, man, I think that was Chris Rock that said that. He was like, Twitter is like the internet's version of like a bathroom wall or something. And ever
Yeah,
since he had said
interesting. I like
that,
that.
ever since he said that, I started thinking about that. And I'm like, that is true. It is like going
Yes.
into a bathroom and looking at everything that's on the wall. Like
Mhm.
people, it's just so many different varying opinions and interests that on there I look at that platform like almost strictly just for entertainment, like pretty much.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I can't spend too much time there from a professional sense. That said, some people have like started to resonate with some of the professional content, and they're like, let's talk a little bit. And I think on Facebook, yeah, that's probably where I've had, I think, the least amount of engagement.
Okay.
But that's also because I spend the least amount of time in that place. I feel like you kind of get into it what you put out of it, but none of
Exactly.
those platforms are all different, and
Yeah.
the way that you use them are different. The last thing I say to that end, Tia, is that
Mhm.
is the same thing that I tell clients, which is that especially with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, like you got to use these websites. I mean, excuse me, you got to use these platforms as platforms to create brand affinity
Mm.
versus trying to convert, like trying to get a sale or something, because it's really hard to
Yeah.
do that. Number one, and then these
Mhm.
platforms, they are always changing the algorithms to the point where they're prioritizing certain behaviors more than others, right? So Instagram at one point was saying that they wanted to prioritize community engagement. So that meant back and forth a lot, like leaving comments, DMing back and forth. Like those profiles are the ones that get nice organic promotion and come up in people's feeds. Whereas on LinkedIn, it could be something different. It's a lot like it looks a lot like Facebook actually. LinkedIn does, and
Yeah.
they've kind of copied a lot of their features. But
Yeah, I think so.
at least that's a place where it's more of a professional platform for the most
Mhm.
part, and you can really develop some relationships. So like you and I have started, and look at
Absolutely.
where that brought us.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. All right. So here's a question for you. I know, we've met recently and hopefully I've been able to communicate this, but one of the reasons for this show is that I think my passions and one of my purposes is really to help people find answers and resources. So that was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, because I think you'd be an amazing resource to a lot of entrepreneurs. And so one of the questions that I see a lot, especially lately on speaking of Facebook, is a lot of people need clarity, right? They started this business, they need clarity on how to run the business or how to create a business model, why people aren't being attracted to what they're posting, just any type of clarity, right? And I know that's something that you in particularly can help people out with. A lot of people don't ask for clarity until they have an issue or they have a struggle. So I guess my question for you would be, what tip, right? Because I know you probably see some of these posts too. What tip would you give people that need clarity? Like, one, would you give them a tip like don't wait till you absolutely need clarity? But two, like when you see people kind of struggling and they create this post, what kind of tips would you kind of give them to guide them to reaching out or and finding an answer or even connecting with you or picking up a book? I don't know. But I guess my question overall is like, what tip would you give people that need clarity before they realize they need clarity and they're in the heat of things?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of a broad answer for clarity.
It might be that you don't know until you really need it, right? I mean, that's a possible answer too, right?
I probably would say almost bringing this full circle, like at the beginning of our conversation where I was talking about having people looking out over your blind spot is a
Hmm.
great like before you even need them. So people that you can count on and support, whether you call them a mentor or a best friend or an accountability partner, somebody of that sort, like starting to get those people in your corner before that that you need them. They will let you know when it's time when you need an intervention, basically. Like that's
Yeah.
probably one of the best ways because, like you said, people don't know that they have the problem until like it's almost too late. If you realize that you got a problem with clarity, like you probably had it much longer than the point that you're ready to like that you're on Google searching for it and like looking for a strategist or something.
Yeah.
So so
That makes
so
sense.
so what you want to be doing is to start getting in some circles of people that lift you up, people that make you feel better about yourself, people that make you feel expansive about your business, like not all tight and crumble, but like making you want to get up and jump for joy and just go at it and always lifting you up. And if you don't have those people in your life right now, Tia, then what you have to do is start to get into some new circles where people who want to see you grow are happy to support you pretty much. Because as they say, like you're kind of the combination of the five most people that you kind of hang out with. So
Exactly.
if you're struggling with some clarity issues, you might be in a situation where you need to shift the people that you're around and your environment and stuff a little bit more. And once you do, that clarity becomes apparent just by osmosis. Like once you're out of it, because you're outside of it at that point. When you all up in it all the time, you're too close to it. You can't see it. So sometimes it just requires shifting your environment a little bit. And so that's what I think. That's the way I think I'd answer that. If you have
Oh,
a
that makes
clutter-free
sense.
environment, like physically in your workspace, like you're gonna have a clear mindset. When it comes to people in your life, same thing. Except for they need to be people that you can learn from, people that you want to be like, people that you can, that you're that they're happy to share what they know with you and that you can learn from, because the reward is in there. It's being able to be a student of the game, to realize how much you don't know, to just come into it with beginner's mindset. Don't think that you know it all. There's always a fresh approach that you can take, even to things that you've already learned. Like I'm telling you, man. Everybody that you meet knows something that you don't. Everybody does.
Absolutely.
A little kid does. Like
Absolutely.
no discrimination whatsoever from what you think about the person. They can look like they live a lower life than you. Like they can drop some knowledge on you, man. You just never know. And so you really just got to come at it from a place of humility,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, okay, I'm going to be around some people who helps me expand, and everything else I feel like becomes obvious after that point. Like it all levels up from that point. Then you start to realize, oh, okay, man, I've been in the dirt for a minute. I didn't realize all of these things that was going on underneath these layers. Now I know. Now it's starting to come clear to me, and now I realize I need to get some help. I need a business coach or something, right? Or I need a designer or something. So
Makes sense. So now a question on the opposite spectrum, since you gave such great insight on the clarity question, what about the people on the growth side? Because I know that is something, and I'm actually super excited to have you come and speak to our group about business growth. Is there a specific sign or something that entrepreneurs should look for to determine if they're ready for growth? Because a lot of times, like I'm going to use me as a perfect example. I'm the founder of the Black Entrepreneurs Network, and I want it to be amazing, right? I want it to be this $1 billion global brand. And so I can start all these hubs in different locations, but if I'm not ready, then I end up making mistakes like I did this week, which is like sometimes I'll share one event with one time, and then I'll share the same event somewhere else at another time because I don't have all my ducks in a row. And so while it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not ready, it just means I really maybe don't have processes in place. So that's just kind of an example. So like if someone is watching this show and they're like, how do I know if my business is ready to grow, right? Like sometimes even things happen innately, but sometimes, we have to kind of help it along the way. You kind of get my gist. How does an entrepreneur know that they're ready for business growth? Is there a specific sign?
I think that the sign is going to be different for everyone. But if there was a magic silver bullet, it's two things from my perspective. Number one, you're never going to be completely ready for anything. And if you are ready for it, you're too late. You're already too late. That means that you spent way too much time holding on to that thing, and you should have gotten out there and started to get feedback and put out the MVP, put out the minimum viable product, and started to get feedback so that you could iterate on that thing. No matter if it's a product, a service, leveling up in your business, anything, the feedback is important. Getting it out there and putting it out there into the real world, and having it take its lumps and bruises. So no entrepreneur wakes up feeling like I'm really ready to do this, and then everything happens like as it should. Like you're still gonna have bumps on the road, even if you feel that way one day in the morning and wake up like that. But it's always scary to release something out into the world because it belongs to you a little bit less at that point, and it's open to feedback and criticism from others. And so you already just got to realize that you're never going to be ready. Like you gotta realize that and leap in. And the second side that I would say to that, Tia, is you have to go the other direction. You have to make success smaller versus bigger. And by that, I mean, it's a personal thing. It's subjective to you. And so even when it comes to UT about becoming this $1 billion global brand, it might sound counterintuitive, but the more personal that you make it, the more of you it is, the more centered and wholesome and closer it is to your soul, the better it is. Not only that, but that $1 billion goal needs to be broken down into a million other steps prior to that point. And all you need to do right now is worry about that very next step, whether that is putting together a plan or you saying, okay, this day I'm really going to spend this time putting these ducks in a row. Like, I'm finally going to do this. I'm not going to do this other thing. I'm not going to do any interviews this day. This has been something that has been on hold for a minute. I'm going to give this whole day to this thing. And you're going to feel amazing when you do that by the end of it. And that little success that you have there is incremental. And you do that for each step of the way. And when you look up, as Oprah says, the combination of luck and opportunity coming together makes, well, luck and preparation is like where opportunity is, or something like that. Like, those three things kind of all happen at once. And so whether we call it serendipity or fate, like, all of these things have to happen. And we have to be at the right place, Tia, in our souls and mentally, to even be on the right wavelength and radar for the opportunities that are going to help us get to that place. When you're too close to it and you focused on all this other stuff, the right relationship could be just under your nose, or it could be in a place that you would have least expected it to happen. And that person may be the one that opens up the doors to becoming that $1 billion brand. It never happens the way that we plan it to, or on the timeline that we wish that it would happen on. All of these other little things are happening all of the time. And it's like, we're all like bubbles bouncing and back, and atoms bumping into each other all in a gazillion different ways. And so our radar and frequency has to be tuned on the right station for us to even be able to receive those blessings, those opportunities, those gifts. And sometimes we're not quite ready for them. We're doing the wrong things. But we can control that a little bit, Tia, when we make success smaller and we say just that one thing. Just that one thing that I've been dreading is probably the thing that you most need to do. For some people that's dealing with taxes, and just like on our call last week about, the tax strategists and things, like, these are things that business owners don't like doing. Like we hate this stuff. We dread this. And that's why we get help in those areas, right? So that's what I would say to that. That would be my advice for knowing when it is to level up. Number one, you're never going to be ready, so realize that there's never a perfect time. None of the stars are going to be perfectly aligned and stuff. And even if you do wake up feeling that way and you got the money in your bank, you might not be there mentally. You might not have the right people in place to help you grow that thing. You might be bad at picking the right people. You might not be a good leader in terms of knowing how to lead people and engage them so that they become their best selves and that they're inspired to help you with your dream. So you got to have all of those ducks in a row. And sometimes that's personal development. Sometimes that's leadership development. But if we can make success smaller, if we can work on those few things, celebrate those wins when we have them, realize that we're never going to be ready, our frequency just automatically by osmosis starts to shift into the thinking and into becoming the person that is capable of creating that $1 billion brand.
Perfect. I love that. That is amazing advice. I'm definitely going to have to make sure I share that in the community as well as with the audience watching this. Okay. Before we wrap up, I want to give you an opportunity to let us know, where our audience can find you. Do you have any upcoming events? Or I know people have challenges and master classes and all kind of things. I know there's opportunities to subscribe to your newsletter. But what type of things, where can we find you? And we'll make sure that we post it in the show notes down below. But do you have anything that you want to share with us so we can connect with you?
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. So you can find out almost all of the happenings about me at darnellbrown.com. So it's just my name.com. And you can follow me at Bulletproof Hustle. Bulletproof Hustle, spelled like those two words are spelled on Instagram and on Facebook, and on Twitter, it's Bulletproof Hustle, because there weren't enough characters. There's too many characters in that word. So those are my social channels. I also have a company page on LinkedIn. Bulletproof Hustle is on there as a company page. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, especially if you are, if you into possibly getting some consulting or strategy sessions, kind of looking at some things. LinkedIn is a good place to holler at me. All of those links are also available just at darnellbrown.com. So if that's the simplest thing, that's where you can find everything that you need to know. Like I said, I'm working on that and have been rolling out my first hybrid program, which does include the 5-day impact course within it, as well as weekly coaching within a specific time span, because I'm trying to provide a transformation for people and give them what they need. And I'll continue putting out content for as long as people will have me, and people will be open to just some different perspectives, different experiences. And I feel like the thing with me, Tia, is I feel like I'm becoming every day a little bit more of who I'm supposed to be and my most honest self. And it's really hard to do that when you have multiple facets to your personality, because you can't be all things to all people. But I like my interests are very varied, but being able to figure out, okay, what's the essence of me and what I stand for, what my brand is and stuff. And I think it is bulletproof hustle, really. I think it is having a hustle that is invincible, being able to say my mindset unstoppable. I can learn anything. I can do anything. Limitless mindset with everything. If I don't know it now, I can learn it. If I don't want to learn it, I can hire the person that does know it better than me. That's my motto with everything. And you need that in today's world, man. You do need that, because this world will get you down. You'll have a lot of life happens moments and disruptions and everything every day, like something that you don't expect could happen and could kind of pull you down from that pedestal that you're on or that peak that you're on. And so how do you have a strong mind? How do you have a strong soul, a strong grind, a strong hustle, and to be able to always put it back to yourself, Tia, and just say, okay, if I'm not getting opportunities here or people aren't giving me opportunities, okay, fine. Like, it's on me, because I can influence the direction of my life. No one else. No, I can't control what happens to me sometimes, but I can control my reaction to it. And so as long as I have that power, as long as I'm empowered in that way, and as long as my clients are, or my audiences, as long as they feel empowered in that way, who's going to stop you? Why shouldn't you be bulletproof, man? You're going to need that type of hustle if you are an entrepreneur, if you are putting out things into this world, because again, some things will land with a thud and you will get rejected over and over, maybe 1,000 times. And so how do you get back in that ring? How do you make your success story better? And you make it better by turning that on its head and saying, well, that's only the second act of my 3-act structure. Like, this movie isn't over yet. That's just the conflict. I got to resolve it before this movie is over.
Exactly.
It's not over yet. I'm still alive. As long as I'm still breathing, the story is never over. That's going to make your story better right there. So that's a blessing sometimes, like to go through all of that and come out the end on top. So I think about all of those things all the time, Tia. Think about people that have came from 10 times worse than I am, made it 10 times further. Makes me feel like, what I'm doing in my life, what am I complaining about? Because I can always depend on their stories. People that had it way worse than me then have had it better than me. And so tap into those when I'm having a hard day, and I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna be right back at it, and I'll be like, "Yep, that's how it is. I got this, man." Because they did it, and the proof is in the pudding. Their stories exist to inspire people like me and like you, T.
Absolutely. Well, what an amazing, inspirational ways to close this interview. And definitely, I encourage everyone to connect with Darnell, learn more about Bulletproof Hustle, go to his website, visit him on social media, like and share. All right. So, Darnell, thank you so much for this time that you spent. And thank you also for allowing me to feature you. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tia. Appreciate you. Appreciate the questions.
For more information about Darnell and Bulletproof Hustle, reach out to him. All of his information is posted down in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by Kaiser Financial Solutions, LLC. If you have credit questions or just need to get your credit in order, reach out to Lucy today. To be featured or to sponsor a future episode, email me at info@theblackentrepreneursnetwork.com. And as always, be sure to subscribe to this channel and connect with our partner, Relationship Entertainment Television. They have a full line of positive programming, something for you and for everyone in your life to enjoy. Now, if you have any questions, be sure to post them down below along with your comments. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, peace.